Well, I mean, it would depend on the facts of the situation, and then they might say.
I just gave you the facts. They
Right,
entered the country without permission.
But Senator, what if they had a good faith basis to say they would be persecuted in their home country and subjected to real oppression there? Under international law, there are provisions for them to make a case.
That's a phenomenal point. Mexico and Canada, do you consider those to be safe countries?
That right there, that stunned silence. That's the sound of a Democrat Attorney General realizing he just walked into a buzzsaw. Keith Ellison thought he was going to sit in that Senate chamber and lawyer his way through basic questions about illegal immigration. The same act he's been running in Minnesota for years. Hide behind due process. Pretend the law is too complicated for ordinary Americans to understand. Wave away crime victims like they don't exist.
With you, just a basic question, just to kind of level set. We can have the three of you just answer decently quickly. Do you think that people who are here in this country illegally, meaning they either entered illegally or overstayed a visa, should be deported? Yes, simple yes or no.
The rule of law, yes.
Mr. Ellison?
Do they have an asylum petition pending?
You get your microphone.
If they have a pending asylum petition, I think it should be heard. If they have some basis for their presence in the country, I think ordinary due process should take place.
Yeah, it's just from my perspective, simple. I'm not a big shot lawyer like you. Just a quick question. If you enter the country illegally or you overstay a visa, should you be deported?
My simple answer is, sir, it depends.
Okay, so if somebody breaks into your home, should they be arrested for breaking and entering, or does it depend?
It's an entirely different scenario.
How's that?
Because immigration is essentially a civil, and breaking into my home is a criminal matter.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So if there's laws that should be enforced, so we shouldn't enforce civil violations?
We absolutely should enforce them.
But you just said that it's a civil matter, so it's different. So if somebody
you enforce civil matters.
So if somebody commits a civil infraction, it shouldn't be enforced?
It should be.
Okay, so they should be deported.
No, they should have due process that is associated with their petition. So, for example,
so the act of entering the country illegally, you think we should say, well, did you really do it or not do it? It's pretty obvious that they did, right?
Well, I mean, it would depend on the facts of the situation, and then they might say.
I just gave you the facts.
They
entered the country without permission.
But Senator, what if they had a good faith basis to say they would be persecuted in their home country and subjected to real oppression there? Under international law, there are provisions for them to make a case.
That's a phenomenal point. Mexico and Canada, do you consider those to be safe countries or no?
Generally, I do, but there are certain
generally you do?
Well, I mean, I would just say this.
You border Canada. Don't insult your neighbors to the north.
No, I love my neighbors to the north.
So is it a generally safe country?
Generally, yes.
So then somebody seeking asylum could certainly be safe in Canada and Mexico, no?
Now, so like if somebody, we do know that in Mexico, which is another country I truly admire and think it's a wonderful country, but there have been cases of persecution, people who have legitimate fear.
So people aren't safe in Mexico? Refugees cannot be safe in Mexico?
Some might not be. And I think, and what I'm saying, Senator.
Maybe we shouldn't have a free trade agreement with them then.
I didn't say that, but what I would say, Senator, is that we should hear their petition.
Gotcha.
We should at least hear it out. We should say, is there a well-founded and legitimate fear of persecution in your home country?
That can't happen in Mexico?
Well, I think that she should just follow the international protocols that existed. And
it is, which is that you seek asylum in your nearest country that you are seeking asylum in. But it sounds to me that your answer is no. Mr. Snell?
Senator, if I were to answer yes or no, it would be misleading. And I think ultimately it does boil down to due process.
It actually is pretty staggering that the easiest question that I could possibly ask is confusing for the two of you. I mean, that's decently disgusting. And I'm going to tell you why from my perspective. I wasn't born in this country. My mom and dad had to follow the rules to bring me and my 6 siblings into the United States. And I find it disgusting that the two of you guys want to reward people who skip the line, pay drug cartel members to smuggle them across the border, are coached to say exactly the right words when they hit Border Patrol. And by the way, the people who do that, the people who are from my neck of the woods, from South and Latin America, get abused, get raped, get held at gunpoint because people like you say, oh, it's okay, maybe we'll allow them into the country, when we should have a very simple policy, which is you can't enter our country illegally and you can't overstay your visa. The fact that the two of you are top law enforcement people in your state and you can't simply say, hey, violating a civil or criminal offense is a problem is probably the origin of why we have these issues. Let's move on for something else. Mr. Ellison, as the Attorney General of the state of Ohio, I'm sorry, the state of Minnesota, you would never get elected in Ohio. Who's Victoria Harwell? Because you haven't said her name. I'm just curious who she is.
Is there a question you'd like to ask me?
Yeah, who is she?
As I understand it, she's a very unfortunate, tragic victim of a crime.
Okay, and what have you done about it?
Well, in Minnesota, sir, I prosecute crimes that are...
What have you done for Victoria Harwell?
I'm telling you about my jurisdiction.
I'm just telling you what you've done for
No,
Victoria Harwell.
I'm telling you about my jurisdiction.
No, but I didn't ask you a question about your jurisdiction. If I did, you could answer that one, but I haven't. So just tell me about Victoria Harwell. Just tell me what maybe the answer is nothing, which is fine. Just tell me what you've done for Victoria Harwell.
We have done everything that the law allows us to do.
Okay.
All right, folks, let's talk about what you just watched. Because if you're anything like me, your jaw was on the floor for most of that exchange. What Senator Bernie Moreno just did to Keith Ellison in that hearing room is something we don't see nearly often enough in Washington. A sitting United States Senator asking a straight question and refusing, absolutely refusing, to let a slick lawyer dance around it. And I want to walk you through this moment by moment, because every single beat of this exchange tells you something important about where this country is right now. Start with the opening question. Moreno asks something so basic, so fundamental, that a kindergartner could answer it. If somebody enters the country illegally, should they be deported? That's it. That's the whole question. And Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota, the chief law enforcement officer of an entire state, cannot say yes. He says it depends. Think about that for a second. The top lawyer in Minnesota cannot publicly commit to the idea that people who break our immigration laws should face consequences. That alone should disqualify him from office, but somehow, in today's Democrat Party, that's considered a moderate position. Then Moreno delivers what I consider the line of the entire hearing. He says if somebody breaks into your house, should they be arrested? And Ellison, and I'm not making this up, actually says that's a different scenario because immigration is civil, not criminal. Folks, that is the entire Democrat Party immigration policy in one sentence. If a stranger walks into your home uninvited, that's a crime. But if millions of strangers walk into our country uninvited, that's just a paperwork issue. That's not a legal distinction. That's a worldview. And it's a worldview that puts the interests of people who broke our laws ahead of the interests of the American citizens who built this country. Now watch what Moreno does next, because this is the mark of a senator who actually did his homework. He doesn't let Ellison retreat into abstract legal theory. He presses. He says, okay, if it's a civil violation, should we enforce it? And Ellison is trapped. He has to say yes, because saying no would mean admitting he doesn't believe in enforcing the law at all. But the moment he says yes, the entire house of cards collapses. Because now he's agreeing that the law should be enforced, which means deportations should happen, which is exactly what he spent the first 2 minutes trying to avoid saying. And then Moreno plays the Canada and Mexico card. This is surgical. Absolutely surgical. He asks Ellison, are Canada and Mexico safe countries? Because under actual international asylum law, you seek asylum in the first safe country you reach. You don't get to skip past 3 or 4 safe nations to pick the one with the best welfare benefits. Ellison knows this. He has to admit Canada is safe. He tries to weasel out on Mexico. But the point is made. Every single argument these people use to justify mass illegal immigration collapses the moment you apply the actual rules of international law. They're not following international standards. They're ignoring them. Now here comes what I think is the most important moment of the entire hearing, and this is going to hit hard for a lot of you watching. Moreno looks at these two Democrat AGs and tells them his story. He wasn't born here. His parents followed the rules. They filled out the paperwork. They waited their turn. They brought their kids into this country legally, 6 siblings, the right way. And he calls it what it is: disgusting. Disgusting that politicians like Keith Ellison want to reward people who skipped the line, paid the cartels, and jumped the border while legal immigrants wait years, sometimes decades, to come here properly. That's not xenophobia. That's not racism. That's a legal immigrant standing up for every other legal immigrant who did it the right way. And he makes another point that nobody in the mainstream media will touch. The people who get hurt the most by illegal immigration aren't rich white Americans in gated communities. It's the migrants themselves. Women raped along the trail. Children trafficked by cartels. Men held at gunpoint. Moreno knows this because he comes from that part of the world. And every time a Keith Ellison goes on TV and winks at illegal immigration, he's putting more of those people in danger. That's the part of this debate Democrats will never, ever acknowledge. Their compassion is killing people. Then comes Victoria Harwell. And if you didn't know who that was before this hearing, you're not alone, because the media has buried her name. Moreno asks Ellison point blank, "Who is Victoria Harwell?" And Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota, can barely stammer out that she's a tragic victim of a crime. He doesn't know her story. He hasn't championed her case. He hasn't said her name. Because saying her name would mean acknowledging what illegal immigration is actually doing to American families. And that's a conversation Keith Ellison is not willing to have. When Moreno asks what Ellison has done for Victoria, the answer is a masterclass in bureaucratic nothing. We've done everything the law allows. Translation: nothing. Because in Keith Ellison's Minnesota, the law allows a whole lot of nothing when the victim is an American citizen and the perpetrator is someone Democrats want to protect. That's the reality. That's what sanctuary policies actually look like when you strip away the pretty language. Real victims, real families, real names, being forgotten on purpose. Here's what I want every one of you watching to take away from this. Bernie Moreno didn't win this exchange because he was meaner or louder than Keith Ellison. He won because he had something Ellison doesn't have: moral clarity. He believes in the country. He believes in the rule of law. He believes that the promise of America, the promise his own parents kept for him, should still mean something. And he's willing to say that out loud, on camera, in front of hostile witnesses, without apology. That's what leadership looks like. That's what we've been missing for a long, long time in Washington. And let me say this directly to my audience, especially those of you who remember when this country actually enforced its own borders. When legal immigration meant something. When getting your citizenship was a source of pride, not a political football. You are not crazy. You are not extreme. You are not a bigot for wanting the laws of this nation enforced. You are the mainstream. You always have been. And it's men like Senator Moreno who are finally saying out loud what tens of millions of us have been thinking for decades. If you appreciate this kind of breakdown, real talk, no mainstream media filter, no corporate nonsense, hit that subscribe button right now and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. Drop a comment below and tell me what you thought of this exchange. Did Moreno nail it? Should Ellison be answering for his record in Minnesota? Let me know. Share this video with every friend and family member who needs to see what actually happened in that hearing room today. God bless you, God bless Senator Moreno, and God bless the United States of America. I'll see you in the next one.